Welcome back to another video here. I am the football expert. My name is Reikley Ruby, and we have another video to do here on Virginia Tech this time around. Virginia Tech, one of those very interesting programs this year. A new hire under James Franklin should provide a lot of intrigue for a lot of Virginia Tech fans to see what the former Penn State head coach is made of. Can he bring them to new heights? Can they consistently get 10-win seasons? Because that was one of the things about him at Penn State is that he could just never get over the hump, never make it to the national championship, never really win the big games. And with that, it kind of brought a lot of anxiety of what was Franklin's ceiling. And it felt like, and honestly, I think it was, he just was not the coach that was going to win the big games. Doesn't mean he couldn't get an upset. Doesn't mean he couldn't win the Big Ten, which he did. Doesn't mean that he couldn't beat an Ohio State. He did, but he was going to lose those matchups 9 times out of 10. He was going to win it 1 time out of 10. But that kind of brings up the interesting premise to this whole video. And what I want you guys to go ahead, Virginia Tech fans, go ahead and put in the comment section. Are you okay if James Franklin's hump is he can only get to that 10-win season? Like, he really can't. He may make the playoffs now with Lord knows how many teams are going to be in the playoffs. So you never know. So maybe he'll make the playoffs. Maybe he'll even win the ACC a good bit. So what do you guys feel about that, if that is Franklin's ceiling? But either way, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Like this video if you enjoyed it and are enjoying it. And then let's get into today's video. First game, home game against VMI, easy win. VMI 1-11 last year. Nothing going on with VMI. They're a terrible school. Their one win was against Ferrum, a bad D2 school, in fact. Then you have a really interesting matchup against Old Dominion. Old Dominion last year won the game 45-26, a 20-point victory, and that was that a home game for Old Dominion? I believe actually, no, it was also at Virginia Tech. They play again at Virginia Tech this year. But this year, I do think that it does bring that James Franklin is going to be able to beat Old Dominion. Old Dominion is one of the better mid-major teams in college football this year. But at the same time, I do think that they're a better team. And with the transfer portal and transfers that Franklin brought in, the freshmen that he brought in, I think that they're going to have an impact and really be important. Like the quarterback for the Hokies, or at least what it seems like. I could be wrong. Like, you guys let me know who you guys think will be the quarterback, but it looks like Ethan Guntmeyer, the former Penn State quarterback last year, is going to be the quarterback this year. He had about 1,300 yards last year, 1,339, 70% completion percentage, 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and a 142 QB rating. Not a terrible season, not a great season. Had a decent game against Clemson, had a 67.6% completion percentage, 260 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Not a very mobile quarterback. Was underneath the equator, less rushing yards than a lot more loss in rushing yards than gained. So struggled in that department a little bit. So the mobility could be an interesting factor to see how that plays out. But I do think they get a win against Old Dominion. We go further into that, but really don't have time for this video. Let me know if you guys want some intriguing matchups, some intriguing non-conference matchups. Road game against Maryland. This is where I really think this season is defined, where I think James Franklin is either going to win, lose. Like, it's going to determine whether this is going to be an 8-win season or a 6-win season, in my opinion. So, or at least what I feel like it could be. It's an early game. Mike Locksley still the head coach at Maryland. He has been there since December 2018 and is still the coach and has just not been able to get over the hump of Maryland athletics. But what he can do is he can win early. I do think he is a great coach when it comes to winning early. So I have a loss here for Virginia Tech, especially with it on the road. Then I think you get a bounce back game against Boston College, a road game there up in Chestnut Hill. I think that you win Boston College and Bill O'Brien I don't think is a good enough head coach. I think he gets let go after the end of the season. Win for the Hokies. Then a home game against Pitt. Another very, very interesting matchup for Pitt. And I think it's one of those games that I may get some blowback on. But I like James Franklin. I think Brent Pry is a good defensive coordinator, not a great head coach, obviously. But I think that it's going to be good enough that I think they get the win over Pitt at home. Then they have a road game at Cal. Always interesting when you go all the way across the country on the road. If this game was at home, it's a guaranteed win, in my opinion. But I think that it could show some issues here for Cal. So I'm not 100% sure where this game is at, but I'm going to lean in the direction of a win for the Hokies, just barely in that direction. So that is going to be a 5-1 record to start the season off. Then you got a home game against Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech and Brent Key is a great head coach there. You don't have Hank King there for Virginia Tech or for Georgia Tech, so that could bring up an interesting point. But I do think Georgia Tech is in a better place. So a win there for the Yellow Jackets. Loss for the Hokies. Then you have a road game against the Tigers. And I think that this is kind of one of those interesting games that it could just be interesting. Like, it may not be number 5 versus number 4. It may not be in LSU versus Clemson last year. It may not even be a Michigan versus Ohio State or a Oklahoma against a BYU or whatever the matchup is. But Clemson Virginia Tech at Clemson, that's a very interesting matchup there. It's right after is the bye week. I am going to give this in favor of the Hokies. I know it's a kind of crazy win, but I think Dabo fallen off a little bit this season. Chris Vecina, I've seen him at the last couple of spring games. He just doesn't look good. He just doesn't. Then you have a bye week. Then a road game at SMU. This is where I do think the momentum stops a little bit. I think you pick up your 3rd loss of the season. So I think with that, you get number 3. Then a home game against Stanford. Again, with this game, Stanford coming all the way across the country, I think that it is a win for the Hokies. It's just a difficult time to be in for the Cardinal. Then you have a road game against the Miami Hurricanes, and this is where the season all culminates. If you were able to get some of those wins, if you got a win against Georgia Tech, got a win against SMU, this could be a matchup in which Miami finds themselves in a difficult spot, needing to get in the ACC title game, especially depending on how the game against Notre Dame goes. And if they lose that game, then it could cause some issues that if they lose another random game, which is honestly pretty Miami style, then they very well could find themselves looking outside in at the playoff picture this time. So with that, it brings up a road game at Hard Rock. And I think with this, they are able to get the win there. I think, a win for the Hurricanes there. I do think the Hokies fall short with the 4th loss. But then it brings up the rivalry game against Virginia. And this is a very interesting one because Tony Elliott, obviously fantastic last year with Virginia, has really built up that program. And I'll be the first to say, I did not predict that. I had Tony Elliott as a subpar hire. I didn't think he was very good as offensive coordinator at Clemson. And for the first few years, I was kind of justified. Last year, a lot better. But I do think it's a rivalry game. It's at home, and stupid things happen on Saturday night in Lane Stadium. Crazy things have happened before. And I think this is where you get your 8th win of the season. And I think James Franklin gets himself an 8th win, which is incredibly important to be able to come away with the W there. So 8-4 is the Hokies record. What do you think about that? It's going to be an interesting season for the Hokies. It's going to be an interesting transition to see what he can do. But I think James Franklin with the schedule very easily can get 8 wins and have a shot at a decent bowl game. And depending on where the losses fall, like if it's a loss to Old Dominion instead of a loss to Georgia Tech, Maybe they find themselves competing for ACC's title spot. You saw Duke 7-5 last year competing for it. So who knows what happens? So either way, hit one of the two videos down below. One will be the podcast and one will be a recommended video for you. And hit the subscribe button up here. As always, have a great rest of your day. Bye.